Over the last 18 years, summoning has changed significantly in Runescape 3. In this video, I will bring you up to speed on the best summoning methods to use in 2025 for gathering charms and making pouches, as well as updating you with the newest equipment and bonuses. I'll also include a section for Ironman at the end of this video. Summoning is critical for unlocking powerful combat bonuses in the form of a follower. These familiars can help with skilling, bossing, and even making crazy money at high levels. There are so many outstanding familiars in the game that make content much more fun. There are also more summoning specific tools and buffs than ever in 2025. The most essential of which are spirit gems and charming potions. These are newish items that can be used to get extra charms, thus saving you time spent gathering charms. Once you have all the charms you need for your goal, XP isn't really an issue. It's possible to hit over 30 million XP per hour if you're really efficient. What we often forget or don't think about is that the time spent gathering charms is the real limiting factor, so anything we can do to cut that down is great. If you're a high-level player, you can get most of the charms you need via endgame bossing, so it's sort of lossless for you. But if you aren't there yet, what should you do? The efficient path to 99 will be gathering charms via Slayer and bossing, but if you're in a rush to get the charms for level 99, I have a few different suggestions. You really want to focus on blue charms as they give much more XP each and aren't too hard to gather these days. Crimson, gold, and green charms can still be useful to fill a few gaps here and there, but you really want the bulk of your XP to come from blues and the other charms to be a side effect of gathering blue charms. Whenever you're gathering charms, it's a good idea to use a charming potion. This is a relatively cheap potion that gives one extra charm to the base charm drop, making it good on monsters that only drop 1 or 2 charms at a time. You'll also want to grab a charming imp. These cost 100k dungeoneering tokens, but they pick up all your charms for you, which is a huge help. Some of the best methods to gather blue charms are the following. The absolute best method to get blue charms is AFK Ripper Demons. Doing this method, it is possible to hit over 1,000 blue charms per hour. Using binding contracts and Slayer wildcards, you can get very good combat XP, Slayer XP, and money, but this method is very advanced and requires a high summoning level to begin. Another option at higher levels is AFK Corporal Beast. This boss is okay money, it's great charms, and it's super AFK if you have a high level setup. You'll average between 5 and 6 blue charms per kill, meaning you can get over 300 blue charms per hour, and you'll get a bunch of other charms too. Still, this is pretty high level strategy, so I've got a few suggestions that are better for anyone mid or low leveled. A great mid-level strategy is something called Exiled Kalphite Guardians. These are located inside the Kalphite King's lair and drop 1 blue and 1 crimson charm every 4 kills on average, doubled to 2 with a charming potion. It's possible to AoE a bunch of these guys at once, and you can stay safe using blood spells or necromancy conjures. This will come out to about 400 blue charms and crimson charms per hour, but not be quite as AFK at lower levels. If you're a brand new player and not combat ready, I suggest doing Croesus, the skilling boss, for blue charms. Using public masses on World 68, you can get about 100 to 140 blue charms per hour, and you'll make some money at the same time. The downside here is the method isn't AFK. I've also put together a list of a few more options. If none of these options appeal to you, you can grab anything you want here. I know some of you may be wondering why Archglacier is not included on this list. Unfortunately, Jagex recently nerfed this beginner-friendly boss, so it is no longer a great source of charms at 0 and 1 mechanics, but it is decent charms at 2 mechanics or higher. Once you get your charms, it's time to gear up and train. Just like combat, skilling in RuneScape 3 can be greatly improved using dedicated gear. The Shaman's outfit is the summoning training outfit. It's obtained by completing the familiarization minigame. This minigame takes a while to complete, but all you need to do for the outfit is go in, grab one shard, and leave via the center obelisk. Then claim a box of summoning ingredients as your reward and open it for a guaranteed outfit piece. You can also do this minigame for triple charm drops as a reward, but it's not really worth it in my opinion versus just AFKing for charms. The biggest benefit of this outfit is when you make the modified headdress. It'll save 5% of all charms you use, which is a huge boost and time save for charm gathering. The second item you should use to save charms are spirit gems. They range from sapphire spirit gems, which save 10% of charms, all the way up to onyx spirit gems, which will save 60% of charms used. It's possible to forge 3 of a lower tier spirit gem into 1 of a higher tier gem. For example, you can turn 3 ruby gems into 1 diamond. This is only a good move if you have more gems than you need for the number of charms you'll make. So for example, let's say you have 10,000 blue charms, but you only have 10 sapphire spirit gems. You're not going to want to combine them because you'll use them all up well before you finish your charms. Once you have the tier of gem you want, you can combine them together to make a mega gem with a higher charge cap. I would always prioritize using your best gems when doing blue charms. Another boost you'll definitely want to use is a summoning cape once you hit level 99. This provides a 2% chance to save a charm when making pouches. Besides that, there's only one more summoning specific boost. This is a summoning focus. It's an item you can buy on the GE or farm from Archglacier as well as some desert bosses and monsters. They give 20% extra summoning XP per pouch, but 1 is consumed for every pouch you make. They're 4k GP each, so at the surface it doesn't seem worth it at all, especially with a surplus of charms, but if you're harvesting your own charms, this will save you 20% of your collection time, which may work out to a profit depending on how you're getting charms and your best moneymaker. For most players, I do not suggest using these. I'm also going to pop up a quick list of generic boosts you should use to optimize your XP gains. Actual time spent making pouches is very low, so it's a good idea to get as many of these boosts as possible. Now that you have your charms and boosts, let's talk about methods to make pouches. There are many different options, but there are only a few actually worth doing. The most basic strategy is running from a bank to a summoning obelisk. This is decent at low levels where you might not have a lot of money or area unlocks, but I don't suggest it at higher levels. The best summoning obelisk to use is not the one in Taverly, but the one in Menaphos. Running between the Menaphos GE area and the northern obelisk is the fastest run in game, about 13 seconds each way. It's also a very good path to Surge on, which is a great way to save a little bit of time and increase your XP per hour. The unlockable merchant bank is actually slightly slower to run to despite appearing closer. Taverly bank to the obelisk is a 23-second run, just for comparison, so it's a lot slower. As you reach higher levels, there are 2 other methods I suggest using. Once you unlock Priff, you can use the Amlod obelisk to make pouches. It's 1 second slower to run to than the Menaphos obelisk, but during the Amlod Voice of Siren, you get 20% extra XP per pouch. That means it's more efficient and saves you charms, so absolutely worth doing. The second cool thing about this obelisk is that you can use an attuned crystal teleport seed to get there faster. Drag the teleport seed into slots 3 and 8 on your action bar. Then to get to the obelisk, spam 3 and you'll teleport nearby. Then to bank, spam 8 and you'll teleport back to the bank. This cuts down the travel time slightly, but it is a tiny bit faster to get there with movement abilities if you're extremely efficient with it. But for most people, I would just use this attuned teleport seed. The final cool thing about this obelisk is that it allows you to make 12 scrolls from pouches instead of the regular 10 or 24 in the case of binding contracts. Turning binding contracts into scrolls here sometimes hits over 100 million GP per hour if no one else is doing it. You can also exchange pouches and scrolls with Lord Amlod for extra shards in hard elf tasks. The final obelisk strategy I suggest is best for players who have all the charms they need through passive means like bossing or slayer, and are looking to blast out some serious XP. This is the #1 method I recommend for most people, especially on double XP week if you're trying to save time. In Taverly, there is a summoning apprentice named Mage Sticks who you can trade with a left click. In his shop, it's possible to sell any tradable summoning ingredient and then buy it back from him at a slightly higher price. Essentially, he becomes your bank and you no longer need to worry about banking at all. There are only a few downsides to this strategy. The first is that once you sell an item to him, you can only buy it back unnoted, so if you sell 50k water talismans by mistake, you're going to need to do a lot of summoning fast. To prevent this, I suggest only bringing up to 5 or 10k of your summoning secondary ingredient at a time. The second issue with this is the shop stock of your sold item decays over time. The decay is a % of the total amount in the shop, not a single item, so if you have more stuff sold, you'll lose items faster. This is a small price to pay in order to triple your XP rates, so I believe it is worth it. I usually sell 500 items at a time, but you can do more or less depending on your comfort level and how much secondaries you're willing to sacrifice. The last problem is you don't have a way to bank your pouches after you make them. The easiest way to deal with this is turning them into scrolls, but this will hurt your XP rates and lose you a little bit of money in most cases. There are 2 alternatives. The first is using magic notepaper to note every pouch you make. Depending on notepaper prices and pouch prices, this can actually sometimes be a better option than making scrolls. The second method, which is even better, requires help from other players. There's a friends chat called Boxes that tracks portable bank deposit boxes. On double XP week, players will sometimes place saved deposit boxes by this obelisk, allowing you to instantly bank your pouches there. If you fill all of your bank spaces and then remove all your pouches, the empty pouches, spirit shards, and charms that you're using, including the placeholder, and then fill the bank to complete capacity, it's possible to instantly dump your inventory into the deposit box to save a little time. Some other good optimization strategies are organizing your shop window to be near where you want to click the obelisk and making your interface scaling higher so it's easier to buy and sell from the shop. I'd also zoom in and remove as many unnecessary windows as possible. The final thing you need to know is what pouches to make. I'm going to pop up my suggestions for gold, green, and crimson charm strategies, but you really don't want to bother with these unless you're short on charms. Gold are best avoided as much as possible. They're just bad XP, they're bad GP, they're not great. Green are okay for profit, but they're not great XP. There is one exception. The Spirit Scarab pouch actually gives a lot of XP and it has stackable ingredients, so you can make it in Amlod without needing to bank and then make scrolls there. So that's a kind of cool strategy, but the GE prices are very volatile, so you want to be careful when you're doing that one. Crimsons are decent XP, but not going to make you any money. They're still efficient to mix in if you do have the charms. What I suggest instead is doing Wolf Whistle for the first few levels, then using quest lamps from the Violet is Blue quests to get to 29 summoning. After that, I'd follow the blue charm path I put together here. I put in the rough amount of charms you'll need to get to each new pouch, but I really strongly recommend training on double XP week and with lots of XP boosts to cut down on the number of charms you need. If you're an Ironman, things are somewhat similar, but you'll want to focus on pouches that have easy to obtain secondary ingredients. This means stuff you can make quickly, get as a drop quickly, or buy from shops. At lower levels, this is basically just minotaurs from level 36 until level 89. You can make bars super easily, but once you're making rune bars, it's better to save those for smithing training instead of summoning. At 89, you unlock Geyser Titans, which are made with water talismans. It's very easy to get these from Archglacier at higher mechanics, so they should be your go-to if you want to grind out 99 or 120 with blue charms. But don't limit yourself to blue charms in Ironman mode. Crimson charms have a lot of secondary ingredients that can be purchased from shops such as raw beef, bagged plants, pots of flour, and much more. At 96, you can buy yak hides in bulk, which will be the best Crimson Charm strategy as an Ironman until 200 million XP. I'm not going to go into gold and green charms since they're still so slow, but there is one more thing worth knowing. There's a relic called Spirit Weaver, which increases experience per pouch by 50%, but pouches are crafted one by one every 2.4 seconds instead of all at once. This is a massive nerf to XP per hour and not even worth it in Ironman mode versus gathering secondary ingredients if you're doing it efficiently, but it can be worth doing if you're a more casual player, don't have enough charms, or want to AFK this skill. It requires 87 archaeology to unlock, which is pretty steep, but it may be worth doing depending on your playstyle. The final thing with summoning on Ironman mode is getting GP for shards. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, just get alchable items, but you can exchange your pouches to Bogrog or Lord Amlod to get some shards back after you've made pouches. This is a great way to cut down the amount of GP required to hit your goal. Also, a good tip for everyone, you can always sell spirit shards to any shop in Runescape for 25 GP each. Never dump them on the GE, you're just losing money. Thanks for watching.